right, welcome everybody. November 26th, the Architecture Working Group meeting. And let me share my screen. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody that are in the States. Find the right tab. It's amazing how Zoom can always manage to pick the wrong spot to place itself when you go to find something. It's like, all righty. So sign in, please, if you can. So the sign up process, like the last time we talked at the general meeting about the sign up bridge, that's been replaced. So the websites have been updated. I got to double check the Ortelius website, but I think it's getting redirected correctly. But that's taken care of. So that's going to streamline things. I don't think we'll get the hiccups that we've had in the past. The reporting microservices that we're doing for Hackathon, I think I have a plan for what we need to do to go to the next step. So I'm going to have to actually add a microservice for like a user auth microservice that we can all interact with. Not a big deal, but I'll get that out there so everybody can that'll be like one of our first shared microservice to microservice calls that we'll have out there. And then we'll be able to get the database queries added into everybody's Python code. Won't be a big deal. I can't remember which driver I was using to do it. But it's a simple Python, simple ODBC driver, so it's not going to be anything earth-shattering like that. We're not going to try what is it, ORM. We'll skip that for now. I think that's going to just be overkill for what we're doing. The persona doc, those are moving along. And I just put these in here for references. One of the things on the persona docs is I will start going through those and start creating tickets based on those persona docs. So we may have some more deeper discussions once we start diving into the details around a persona at that level.
Hey, Steve.
Yep.
Do you need anybody to test that sign-up bridge other than you?
Yeah, if somebody wants to go ahead and test the sign up, let me get the link.
Do we need to remove anybody's their names first?
You could just create a new sample.
Oh, okay. And it won't matter if their ID is already in there?
It'll actually, that was part of the things that I added in the bridge. I realized that the bridge wasn't doing the correct edit checks. So if a user ID is already in play, it'll throw an error message and say, choose another user ID at that level. So that was one of the things that that was happening. I found in the bridge was there wasn't enough edit checks in place, so we're getting some bad data pushed over, so people couldn't log in at that level.
Steve, it's Tatiana. There is also one more link with personas. I've created personas for TLS contributors. I could add link right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. I did take a look at it. Thank you. I'm going to try to work on it tomorrow some as well, Tatiana.
Of course.
Yeah, and I saw that Parajat has been working on the forum. Something popped up on Discord from her that she wanted me to look at. So that would be one thing on that as well. There's going to be the forum around the personas. So if you could add the link in there, that'd be great. So onto the...
And the next thing we need to do with that, and that we'll talk about that on the outreach, is figure out what we want to do in terms of a reward system for each of those personas.
That's what's next on the list here is reward systems. So what reward systems has anybody been seeing or used in the past? The one I've seen out there is the Gitcoin, like I mentioned before. I don't know if it's going to fit into what we're going to do. What was the other one, Tracy? Was
Badges.
it LinkedIn badges?
Yeah, you get electronic badges that you can put out on LinkedIn, and it shows your contribution to open source. And there's some free ones. There's some ones that cost some money, not that much. Potentially OpenMake or Deploy Hub might be able to make that purchase. But yeah.
Like for example, Tracy, in DevOps Institute, they have this something called as Mo, an application through which they do the reward system.
Yes. So let me see if I can pull up my Mo. Helen's been pretty creative at creating some reward systems. Is there a way, do you know, from Mo doesn't externalize your successes in a way that people can see it on LinkedIn though? You have to be in Mo to see it. Is that right, or am I missing something on that?
No, you're right. It cannot be shared outside.
But it is nice to internally to get the kind of kudos from your peers. Let me, Steve, go ahead and I'll bring up what Mo looks like.
Okay. I'm trying to think what the other ones, then also the other, I've seen, well, just the whole swag type of thing. And that's, I've seen that when we used to be able to travel, we would go to the Linux Foundation open source summit. So it was like all the it was like one person from each member company got to go and listen to the high level directions of the Linux Foundation. And they would give you swag on when you're there about if you're giving a presentation, that type of thing. So around that, I wonder if we should, some of the other things on the reward system, what are we going to reward for?
Yeah, that's what right now I think that we have to figure out what the levels of reward should be. And that'll be fun to build out that, just the different levels.
And are we going to take, that's going to be done in the outreach?
Yeah. So just as here's Steve, I'm going to share my screen.
All right, let me stop. All right, go ahead.
So this is Mo. This is the DevOps Institutes, and when you do stuff, you get rewards, and you have a store that you can buy stuff from. Oh, I don't know why. I have $26. I don't know what's in the store, but I do. I can get rewards, and then you get moments. So if somebody did something nice, you can share a moment with them, and the work that you do gives you store rewards. Siddharth, have you redeemed any of your rewards?
I have just gained it. I've not utilized it.
We use a similar thing at work called Bonusly. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And then you can like do shout outs to people like, oh, thanks so much for helping out there. And like you get so many points a month to award to people in your company. And then, yeah, like you said, it converts into spendable, whatever, dollars or whatever it is.
What I can see in these stores, in my account is all DevOps Institute rewards, exam vouchers and all other things. That's it. So you can add also your stores, but at the moment it's like just DevOps Institute rewards.
Yeah, this is just all my, I've received. Looks like I've received 4. I've not created. I think I've created a couple of. I thought I created a moment, but I guess I haven't. I'm just looking at my rewards, and I really don't. I haven't taken it up on the rewards. So the reason why I like the badges, so the badges look like this in LinkedIn. Go to my profile.
Yeah, Tracy's a LinkedIn rock star here.
I work on it. Why isn't it scrolling to my name? Okay, so if you go to my profile, so the Linux Foundation uses these electronic badges. So when you do something with them, you get these sort of little badges that show you've been certified, and the Linux Foundation has recognized you for your work. I think it's cool that way because it comes to you in an email, you accept it, and it automatically adds it to your LinkedIn profile. And I think for most of us, building our LinkedIn profile isn't kind of an important from a career perspective. So that's how the badges work. So you get recognized external. But maybe we can find a way to do both. And I think that we have to come up with some fun ways to, do some interesting swag, which will be something that Steve and I will have to work on how to get that funded for 2021.
Do we have an organization for Ortelius on LinkedIn?
What was that, Christopher?
Do we have an organization for Ortelius on LinkedIn?
No, we don't. I haven't set that up yet.
I mean, that's another way for people to be able to show they're participating if they're interested in doing that.
I thought Marky did set that up.
No, it was on my list and I just forgot until Christopher just mentioned it. We have I think the only thing we have is a Twitter account. But I'll put that as a note for myself. Steve, why don't you put that on the notes that Tracy will set up a LinkedIn account.
All right.
And when we get when we're officially as part of the CDF, we will get a budget for swag. So we'll be able to use that swag as well to, I don't know how much the projects get for free, but we will get some funding for swag, which would be awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I like the LinkedIn thing too. I think it's cool. I use it a lot.
Yeah, it's a good way to build your resume. And, when you have things coming in from outside and it's just not you putting things on there about yourself, it helps boost the credibility.
So we'll work on the levels and then we'll work on the reward system. It could be, your first 5 pull requests, you get a badge, something like that. We'll come up with a fun kind of scheme. And in the world of Jono, I wrote these down somewhere, but I'll bring it back up. They have, he has what he calls core casual contributors. So you need a system for casual contributors. I'll just type this in here. He says you should have a reward system for casual contributors, one for regulars, and one for core. So for example, right now, everybody on this call has really, I would consider you guys core. You're here for Thanksgiving, even regardless where you're living. You're here on a holiday, so and you guys are always there, so you would be a core contributor. So the levels of reward have to go with those levels. Now within those levels, you might have somebody who's coding, somebody's on the website. We'll just put this outreach. Somebody could be in support. I'm not sure what Tatiana's personas are, but regardless of the activity, they get rewarded based on this casual, regulars, and core.
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole gamification aspect of this thing. My only worry is trying to base it on something like commits that would sort of host the support people that are responding to GitHub issues or something like that. So if there's some way to make it more balanced so that it's not you must commit to be a contributor, then that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. The commits can get skewed, and the pull request can get skewed pretty quickly, especially when it's like something that doesn't have a like an issue or a commit associated with it. You know, like creating a I don't know, like a press release or something like that. Something that we're going to do outside of Git, or a training video. You know, those types of things are going to be more outside of a coding change. You'll have an issue for it, but there's not a direct correlation about the scope. You know, creating a series of training videos is going to be much more complicated than fixing a typo on one of our web pages.
Right.
Okay, so next thing on the list is the Ortelius delivery plan. I know last time you guys went through and ranked it. I got to get back in there and look at the rankings. I'm going to do that when I go in, get all the issues cleaned up and reorganized. So I'll be using that as one of my guides to do that. And then
I'm just curious if we got yeah, it looks like we've got some votes out there.
cool.
Build out CI/CD automation from Git. I think that's a really, really good one to be top in that category.
I love it. Testing is 0. That's typical.
Identify community tools and access. Well, it looks like we still have some voting to be identify Spinnaker integration points. I think that's a good one too. So
did you find a Spinnaker person?
Not yet. I'm gonna now that you mention it, let me email Igor again, or Isaac.
Yes, he's the CTO.
Yes.
Yeah,
he promised me somebody.
Okay. Anything else on the delivery plan? So the last thing was last week we did the Ortelius walkthrough, kind of like a deeper dive. Just want to get some feedback on that. If that's what you guys were looking for, is it too high level, too low level? Just to get some details on that. So
I thought it was awesome, man. Yeah.
Okay.
It was great just to get an understanding of how the thing is structured, you know. Even though maybe some of the stuff I haven't touched on before, it's still good to have an understanding of how it fits together like a puzzle, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, Trace is telling me that some of the groups are using like Twitch for sharing like a coding session. That may be something that we want to kind of get into. It'd be like a group coding down the road. So we can all dive into something and take a look at what's happening along that lines. Okay. So I'm thinking on the next one, we'll do an integration. It'll be like a CI integration. I'll look at a date with the holidays coming up and stuff like that. We'll see what's happening, but I'm thinking mid December. We'll do another one of those. Probably the same time as this. We'll just do the off weeks. I just got to look at the calendar around that. But I think that would be the next one that we'll take a look at is the CI integration, and then after that we'll actually do the CD part on the delivery part because we need to get everybody has to understand the CI integration first. Before you can get into the next part of how we go and actually do the deployment pieces. So any other specific like walkthroughs or anything like that people are interested in? And it doesn't have to be just Ortelius. If you want to go through like a walkthrough of a doing pull requests, or if we want to do a walkthrough of I don't know, microservice architecture in general, or Kubernetes, any of that stuff.
I'll take all of those.
I think
since you're asking Steve, I'll take all of them.
I think the walkthrough on Kubernetes would be a helpful one, actually, Steve, because we need to start thinking about states and what we possibly need to manage with objects within a cluster. I mean, should we start trying to track namespaces or anything that is related to Kubernetes when we do a deployment?
Yeah.
Or should we not worry about that and keep passing that stuff off to like Argo or Spinnaker or somebody else? And even if we do pass it off, should we try to track it in our configuration data?
Right. So it really gets into
because if you think about the GitOps push, some of the stuff that they're managing in those deployment files we're not managing, and my question is, should we be? And I think if we do a little bit of a deep dive on that, and the other thing is there is a recording of Argo CD that we did for one of our meetups. I think it's a really good presentation. That may be something else we need to just watch as a group or talk about at least the demo part of it. Because I feel like the problem with the GitOps is it doesn't scale well. And if there's a way that we can help solve that, I think that we're going to be starting those conversations with the folks like at Spinnaker.
I didn't think Spinnaker was a GitOps angle, but I know Argo CD is.
I don't think Spinnaker is either. I don't know how I don't know if they actually track the state at all. And that's why it would be great to get Isaac to give us a resource for, just to do a good demo on it. I could bug Rosalind too. Maybe she'll remember.
Okay. Okay, these are.
And I've reached out to the woman from Intuit about Argo as well, asking for because the TOC is looking to us to help with sort of bridging data between these different deployment solutions. So that's why I believe our discussions we're gonna start get into the GitOps. Now the CNCF is gonna start a GitOps working group. Steve, I'm gonna sign you up for it, but if anybody is interested, as soon as I get the information, I will put it out on Discord and remind everybody in one of these one of our meetings, because I think that's going to be it's going to be important for us to be understanding and at least thoughtful of what the GitOps community is trying to do. I did watch an Argo CD one, and they talked about the struggle with scaling and the struggle with not having what they're looking at creating called application sets. And in essence, I believe that's what we are already doing, but I don't know what she was referring to as an application set. But I feel like we should do a cross briefing with her so she sees what we're already doing that they may be able to integrate with.
And that's Intuit?
She's from Intuit. That's who built Argo CD.
Okay. Because I'm trying to remember, because I think it was Netflix that calls a microservice an application as well.
Yes, they do. An application in Netflix's world is a collection of microservices that don't serve anybody in particular. They themselves have interdependencies, and so in order to use anybody to call any one of those microservices, you have to have a set.
Yeah,
and so
and I think I've been calling
them
in the Ortelius world, I've been calling them component sets.
I think a component set I think the term application is too loaded, and I think it makes it confusing.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that whole trying
But
to figure out.
That's what Netflix and that's what they're calling them, which means we would have to rename some of our objects if we wanted to go down that road. But that's what they're struggling with. So inside of Ortelius, we don't have a way to create a collection of microservices together outside of an application. But I don't see any reason why you couldn't create an application that said this is the application, even though it's not like in our example it's a website. It's an application that's a set of microservices. Now the problem becomes being able to track applications that use applications.
Right. I think it would be easier from an architecture standpoint just to add into one table or a couple columns to go ahead and create a component set that's outside of an application.
Yeah, me too. And then from the standpoint of an application team, you could consume the component set.
Right.
Does that make sense to everybody?
Sounds like a Death Star.
It is.
It is a mini Death Star because
it's a Death Star within a Death Star.
Yeah.
So
because what they did was what they ran into, and Michael Galloway explained this to us. What they did was they started finding out that while they had microservices in individual containers, and then suddenly they realized one microservice had a dependency on another microservice. And instead of taking those microservices and putting them in a container together, they just started trying to track the dependencies between those sets, those application sets, as they're calling it in Argo. I don't know why you wouldn't just put them all in the same container.
Yeah,
because you want them to scale. You want them to scale individually.
So how do you know when to start doing that and when it starts getting a bit crazy? Because don't you end up with like a million of these little oaks running? Sorry, that was slang. These little guys like all over the place. Don't you end up with like a ton of like containers or little applications running everywhere, and you don't really know what's going on? Don't you lose track?
Well, that's what the problem that they're running into, and that's what we need to solve. And we're really close on that. Like I said, we just have to add in probably maybe another column or maybe a small relational table. It'll be a 2-column table, component set ID and the components that belong to it. So it
would look very much like our how you build a package, an application package. Instead, you're just going to create a component set package.
The other way to do it would be and I've seen this done, and you'll see a lot of the marketplaces try to do this, where they start throwing tags at things, and you start grouping things based on tags. But the problem is, if you go the tag route, you don't have you're not able to version that. And I think we need to be able to manage the versions of the component sets, because the set of, for what you have running in development, that component set and those tightly coupled components are going to be different than what's running in production. So you're going to have two different versions, and I don't think tagging is going to allow us to do that. I think we'll have to build out the versioning model to deal with that. It's not hard to do.
Okay.
So maybe I can get
amazing.
a call. Maybe I can get a call going with Michael Galloway and just have a discussion on application sets to make sure that what we believe we can do would solve the problem.
I have a pretty good idea what they're doing at Netflix. Let's see if we can get into its view of it, so we get a different perspective. So I think that would be. I have a pretty good idea of what Michael's been talking about from Netflix. So let's take a different view and see what the interpretation from the Intuit side is.
Okay. I reached out to Mukalaki. I haven't on LinkedIn. She did accept my request, but she hasn't emailed me. So I'll email her through Sales Navigator again and tell her we really want to talk to her about application sets.
Yeah.
All right. I will do that. And that might be it's not that huge of a task. So that might be a really good first coding effort for this group, to be honest.
Yep.
We got some data. We got a database update. So we'll have some front end updates, and some documentation updates. Okay, we are 2 minutes over.
All right. Anything else?
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got an email. I see people voting again for Ortelius was that just somebody voting late, or do we have to vote again? I know our votes don't count, but I just got another mail of someone who voted. I don't know, was it like, did we have to vote again, or was it that only one time? Can I just ignore that?
You can ignore it. Dan Lorick did do the pull request merge. The press release is going out on the 8th, and we're doing donuts and beer, I think, on the 8th, right, Tracy?
Yeah, I need to publish that. Our donuts and beer.
I just wanted to check because I was like, why did I get another email? Somebody voting. I don't know who it was.
Tara Hernandez was. She's our board advisor. And she didn't think she had to vote or should vote, and
that's why.
And so they asked her to go ahead and submit it, so everybody on the board had properly voted.
Yeah, that was the one that I got, and I was like, oh, they're voting again. What's going on?
No, she just was lagging. No, the press release is written and done. It's ready to go out from the CDF. I've heard nothing that says that we're not that anybody had an objection. I've got to find out from Tracy Miranda. You know, I haven't seen any kind of the other than the contributor contracts. If there's a contract between Deploy Hub and CDF and CDF that she needs for the asset transfer, haven't seen that yet. But other than that, the 8th is still a go for the announcement, and then we'll have to. First thing we'll have to do is change the license, and that's not going to be terribly difficult. We just have to go through. I think we have to do it on Git.
Thanks.
Well, Owen just showed up. Owen, we're just wrapping up.
Owen, hi, Owen.
Yeah, sorry, I've been in a fight with an industrial controller since about 9 a.m. this morning.
Oh.
So it's won. It's fine. It's defeated me. I'm going to accept that.
Well, thanks for joining. We, you know, do you have any updates on the on a website platform that we should be looking at?
I will do after this weekend. I was intending to work on it last weekend, but came down with a fever, so just had to rest up and do very little. But I'll have an update this weekend.
Getting a fever during a pandemic is freaking scary. I'm hoping. Yeah, okay.
I got the test done. To be honest, the test ended up being worse to do than the fever was. I didn't realize I had to swipe the swab and then stick it up my nose, the same swab.
They're scratching your brain.
Yeah. But no, it's not corona. It's just I came down with a bit of a fever, possibly a med reaction or something. So it's all good. But yeah, no, this weekend I've got some time set aside just to basically remove the credentials I've currently got in the example pipeline, and then I'll share that through Discord and people can have a look at it.
Awesome. Excellent.
I did do some updates to the website as it exists now, and I'm going to go ahead and continue to kind of pick at it and work on things. But I'm hoping that we'll just be able to say this is the structure that we need to move it over to something that everybody can contribute to.
Awesome.
Perfect.
I know you missed a discussion around what we believe the Argo is calling application sets and what we would call in our world a component set. Both Netflix and Argo CD have recognized the need to be able to create a collection of microservices that have to be deployed at the same time because they have interdependencies. And we're still working to try to get somebody from Armory to give us, to talk to them about doing integrations with Spinnaker and the integration points we should be looking at.
That sounds great. Yeah, so just as a quick thing for me, I know it's not been on our Q1 radar, but I'm beginning to look at how to integrate this with the Azure pipelines DevOps side of things, purely because the company I'm currently working for are using that. And they're quite interested in the product. So once I've had a look at that properly, I'll let folk know around that. It's not something which I think is a priority, but it's just, I happen to be dealing with it every day. So it's on my mind a lot right now.
Well, just a heads up. So mid-December, we did a Ortelius like deep dive walkthrough from a dev's perspective. I'm going to do one probably mid-December. I got to look at the calendar around how Ortelius will integrate into the CI. We're going to start with the CI integration, and then from there we'll do another one around CD.
Awesome, sounds great.
So keep your eyes out for that that one, and it'll probably be this Thursday meeting time slot.
Sounds great. Thanks.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming today, and everybody stay safe. It's going to be.
You guys too.
Thank you.
Guys.
All right. Take care.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.